So for the year of 2020, I had a personal goal in my gaming life, and that goal was to beat more games, because I have this problem, which I'm sure a lot of you gamers have this problem as well, and it's that you start a game and you never finish it. And I'm tired of doing that. I want to start a game and I want to finish it. I don't want to get distracted by another game. I want to beat more games. So that's what I'm trying to do in 2020. Now, of course, that's easier said than done when you're as busy as I am. I'm sure a lot of you are just as busy as well. It's hard to find time to play video games. It's hard to find time to freaking beat a video game whenever we're working full time, or if you have kids or pets, or you're a wife or friends, everything that happens in life that makes it hard to find time to play video games. But I was determined this year to beat more. Now, in today's video, I'm going to go over 5 games that I completed in the first quarter of 2020. Now, I know what you're saying, 5 games, that's not really a lot in a 3-month period of time, but it's all I can find time to do with everything else that I've got going on. And I do want to give one big disclaimer real fast. I don't have any gameplay footage recorded for these games, and the reason for that is because I beat all 5 of these games on the Nintendo Switch Lite in handheld mode, because that was the only way I could find time to actually beat games. And they're all pretty much smaller indie games, because I'm kind of on an indie game kick here lately, and I wanted to complete some indie games that have been on my backlog. But it's hard for me to find time to sit in front of a TV and play a traditional console or a Switch in docked mode so that I can record footage, unless it's briefly for another video. So I had to do this on the Switch Lite in order to actually be able to beat the games, because I could play this anywhere. So anywhere I can find time to play a game, when I'm not in my game room, or if I'm on the road, in the passenger seat of a car, I can play. All that good stuff enabled me to be able to beat these 5 games. So even though I don't have gameplay footage, I am going to play footage from the trailers for these games as I talk about them, so that you can at least see some footage from the games. Let's get into these 5 games that I beat in the first quarter of 2020 on the Nintendo Switch Lite. First game in today's video is Forager, and Forager was released on the Nintendo Switch on July 30th, 2019, and you can get it digitally for $19.99, or you can actually get it physically for $29.99. The best way to describe Forager is if Minecraft, Legend of Zelda, and Terraria had a threesome and somehow managed to bust out a baby. That baby would be Forager. Also, I'm sorry for that visual. Forager is essentially a 2D open world-ish game where you can explore the world one tile at a time while trying to make money, farm materials, craft, solve puzzles, build a base, and of course, fight loads of enemies and bosses. This is a game all about discovery, and Forager is packed full of awesome secrets to find. Now, even though I say I beat Forager, it's sort of like Minecraft and Terraria in that you can really just keep playing forever. However, I did just about everything that you could do on the base Switch version, so eventually I decided to call it quits. But what a fun and addicting experience it was. Forager has such an addicting gameplay loop that you will find yourself losing hours without even realizing it. There is literally a constant feel of progression in Forager as you level up and unlock new skills and crafting recipes, unlock more tiles to explore, forge new gear to try out, improve the efficiency of your crafting, so on and so forth. There is literally always something to do or work on, and never a dull moment, and that is part of what I loved about Forager. The combat really reminded me of Zelda a bit, and there are even dungeons full of puzzles, enemies, and a boss fight. Forager takes a while to get to the end game too, as I think I put about 15 to 20 hours in. It was a great game to play in handheld mode on the Switch as well, and I had such a fun time with Forager. And if you like what you just heard, then I highly recommend that you check out Forager on the Nintendo Switch, or any other console or platform that you might want to play it on. Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition was released on the Nintendo Switch on October 8, 2018, and you can buy it for $14.99 digitally, or you can buy the physical version for $39.99 that includes both Guacamelee and Guacamelee 2, all on the same cartridge, and an instruction manual as well. When I went into Guacamelee, I honestly didn't know what to expect other than the fact that it was a Metroidvania. I knew almost nothing about the game other than that, and that it reviewed really good. Well, I was surprised and blown away by just how good this game is, to say the least. As I said, Guacamelee is a Metroidvania, but it is also an action platformer and heavily inspired by Mexican culture and folklore. This is a game packed full of action, adventure, and comedy, and it is quite challenging at times too. There are enemies to fight all over the place, and there are constant sections that are sort of like arena fights where you have to defeat multiple enemies before you can pass on. The combat has a huge variety of moves and abilities in your arsenal, and you have to learn which abilities work against which enemies, and these moves and abilities can be strung together into some very elaborate and flashy combos. There is a huge world to explore, packed full of secrets and hidden areas that require you to utilize one or more of the abilities and moves you unlock, and the entire world has a living version and a dead version that you swap between regularly. There are some very intense platforming challenges to overcome to get all the secrets and collectibles, and the boss fights are fun, intense, and varied. Guacamelee features a beautiful sort of hand-drawn and painted art style that just pops on the screen, and the Mexican-inspired music is so good and catchy. There's also 4-player drop-in, drop-out co-op, which is a nice touch. Guacamelee was pretty challenging at times, but not in a frustrating way. You have to get good at the combat and platforming. It is a fairly short game, as it took me almost 7 hours to beat it, but you could easily extend that quite a bit if you try to 100% the game. I had such an unexpected blast with this gem of a game, and if you have never played Guacamelee, then what are you doing with your life? Play it, you won't regret it. The Messenger was released on the Nintendo Switch on August 30th, 2018, and you can get it digitally for $19.99. Now, there was also a physical edition released through Special Reserve Games, but unfortunately that's no longer available, so if you want to buy that physical version, you're going to have to pay a premium on eBay. Ninja Gaiden on the NES was one of the first video games I ever played, and when I heard the Messenger was directly inspired by Ninja Gaiden and other 8 and 16-bit classics, I knew I had to play it. The Messenger is a 2D action platformer with some light Metroidvania elements to it, as well as time travel. More on that in a moment. The Messenger plays like Ninja Gaiden with tight controls, single sword swing fight combat, and wall jumping acrobatics, but it also has plenty of unique and original ideas to it as well, like the main gameplay mechanic, the Cloud Step. Cloud Step is a brilliant gameplay mechanic where when you hit an enemy or an object with your sword while in the air, you will briefly gain the ability to jump an additional time. All throughout the game, you will be chaining Cloud Steps together for traversal, platforming challenges, and combat. And you can also combine Cloud Step with other abilities and gear you acquire, like the wingsuit and the rope dart. This gameplay mechanic is so seamlessly integrated into the game that it becomes a muscle memory and a reflex that you barely need to think about, and it creates such a smooth flow in the Messenger. The world is huge and packed full of enemies, bosses, secrets, hidden areas, shortcuts, etc., and each area is varied and with each its own amazing piece of music and theme. In addition to that, the entire world is split into 2 different time periods, and what is cool is that one time period is 8-bit and the other in the future is 16-bit, which is just such a cool idea. The Messenger is fairly long as well, and it is packed full of humor. I want to say it took me somewhere around probably 10 hours to beat the game. Now, don't expect an easy game here, as the Messenger is fairly challenging in both combat and the platforming challenges, and the boss fights are all incredible, and some of them are insanely difficult, but also very, very epic. The Messenger is easily one of the best games I've played so far in 2020, certainly at the very top of my list as far as some of my favorite indie games go. Play it. Shantae Half-Genie Hero was released on the Nintendo Switch on May 8th, 2018, and you can get the Ultimate Edition digitally or physically for $29.99, and I recommend the physical version because it comes with a few extra goodies as well. Shantae is a series from the very talented studio WayForward, and it has been around since the Game Boy Color days. Shantae Half-Genie Hero is a fantastic 2D action-adventure platformer where you embark on an epic journey to stop your rival, Risky Boots. The game is split into multiple large areas that you can travel to as you unlock them, as well as the hub town where you get quests, acquire upgrades, and purchase items. The areas in the game you explore are quite large and varied, and they are all split into multiple smaller sub areas as well. Each area is packed full of enemies, secrets, and plenty of goodies to find. Shantae sort of has a Metroidvania feel to it to a degree. Each area is linear, but there's still plenty to explore, and you will see many places and items you cannot access until you acquire certain abilities and transformations. Your basic attack is your hair whip, which you can upgrade to whip faster and do more damage, but you also unlock magic abilities which you can power up, and throughout the game you will find multiple transformations where you transform into various animals. Each transformation is upgradable and grants you special attacks and abilities that you use throughout the adventure and during boss fights. The art style is so colorful and vibrant and just plain gorgeous, and the music, oh man, the music. Music in the Shantae series is legendary. So many great tracks that get stuck in your head. It's also a fairly challenging game at times and a decent length as well. I believe it took me somewhere between 10 and 15 hours to beat it, and that's without 100%ing the game. Another awesome thing is that the Ultimate Edition is packed full of extra content, including multiple full game modes where you can play as other characters, so there's a ton of value and replayability here. The Shantae series never ceases to amaze me at how good it is, and if you've never played a game in the Shantae series before, then Half-Genie Hero is definitely a good place to start. Aguila was released on the Nintendo Switch on April 25th, 2019, and you can get it digitally on the Nintendo Switch for $14.99. Now, there was a physical version that you could get imported from Europe, the PAL version of the game, and it was relatively cheap too. I got it on Amazon, I want to say for 20 bucks with free shipping, but I think it's out of print because the price has gone way up on it, so if you want to get that physical version, you're probably going to have to hit up eBay and pay double or triple what I paid for it, unfortunately. Aguila is a retro-inspired 2D action-adventure game with some Metroidvania elements to it. It is clearly inspired by the Wonder Boy series, which of course is not a bad thing at all. One of the things I love about Aguila is just how much of a love letter it is to the 16-bit era and also the Wonder Boy series, as I stated, but at the same time it has some originality and some modern day conveniences thrown in as well. The world in Aguila is quite large and full of branching paths, tons of enemies, traps and obstacles, and plenty of secrets and hidden areas, and of course dungeons and massive epic boss fights. There is a fantastic sense of progression as you are constantly finding new gear, unlocking new abilities, gaining magic powers, and leveling up to become stronger. There is a fairly deep storyline at play here, and the world is full of towns to visit and NPCs to interact with. As you explore, you will eventually be able to fast travel so that you are not having to spend hours backtracking. The retro pixel art graphics are fantastic, and the music is amazing and very catchy with a nice retro feel. There are some pretty devious platforming challenges here too that require you to chain together abilities and magic in creative ways. The 4 magic abilities are all very unique and have multiple uses for combat, puzzle solving, and traversal. Fair warning though, Aguila is quite difficult, especially in the beginning when you are not very strong. You're going to want to explore every nook and cranny to get as many upgrades as possible and also level up as high as you can. It is a decently lengthy game without overstaying its welcome. It took me just under 8 hours to beat it, and that is with a 90% completion rate. Surprisingly, I only died 12 times, which I thought it was more than that. If you like retro games and or the Wonder Boy series, then you have got to play Aguila because it's such a wonderful gem of a game on the Nintendo Switch that, quite frankly, I don't hear enough people talking about it. I think it's very underappreciated and underrated. So, folks, if it looks interesting to you, go check it out so that you can support the developers because they've definitely crafted a really good game here. Well, there you have it, folks. 5 games that I beat in the first quarter of 2020. Part 2 of this video will be the second quarter of 2020, and I'm already well on my way to beating some pretty decent games in the second quarter. And the third quarter is going to be insane because of some of the really big game releases that I just gotta play, like The Last of Us 2 and Paper Mario, The Origami King, and Ghost of Tsushima. There's some really amazing games coming out that I'm probably going to have to make time to sit in front of a console to play because I just can't miss these games. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure and hit that like button. It really helps me out. and I appreciate it very much. Let me know in the comments down below if you've played any of the 5 games I talked about in today's video and what you think about them. Also, let me know in the comments what games you've beat in 2020 so far. I would love to hear those. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button so that you can join the awesome RetroWolf family as we push our way towards our new goal of 2,000 subscribers. As always, folks, keep playing games and having a good time. Stay safe out there, and I will see you all in the next video. Later.